And in this search for seeking out information, I stumbled upon one of my now good friends. Her name is Dayna Abraham, and I'm so pleased to be able to have her on our podcast today. I'm going to go ahead and pull her up, and then I'll share a quick little intro for her. So Dayna, it's so good to have you. How are you, friend?
Hello, hello. I'm so excited to be here. You are so awesome for doing this.
Well, I am thrilled that you're here. And what is so wild, friends, like just listen how wild this is. We were in a mastermind together, still are, and I didn't really know what she did. We were just all in this mastermind together. But it's so interesting how the people that can help you the most are sometimes just one connection away, or they're even sometimes in your own group. You just don't even know it. And so when I finally found out that Dayna helps kiddos that are challenging kiddos, she helps parents and teachers. It was like, oh my gosh, like this is meant to be. We need to be able to learn from you. And so what I am doing tonight is Dayna has created a beautiful podcast. We're going to talk about that, but we're also going to be talking about her upcoming book that's getting released soon. And she's also here to share the 3 secrets. Oh my gosh, there's the book, the 3 secrets to parenting or teaching challenging kids. So Dayna, thank you again for being here. And let's go ahead and start off with, how did you come into this place to become a parenting expert and author in this space? Tell us a little bit about where you came from.
Yeah, so that word expert still kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies. I think I have a lot of trauma around that word. So I was an educator for 12 years, Chicago Public Schools. I taught everything from early childhood to first grade. I had, and I was a national board certified teacher. I don't know if I said that part, but anyway, I like the experts when it came to my kid had failed me so many times. So for you to say, oh, she's a parenting expert, I still get the I don't know, So how did I get here? It's, I kind of say that I was born into this. I was a sibling of a bipolar brother, so extremely explosive, dealt with a lot of that growing up. And then when I became an educator, my favorite kids were the ones with a paper trail behind them, the ones that in the teacher lounge, all the other teachers would talk about and warn you about. And the parents would come with their head hung low and they'd drop off their kids that first day. And the kids knew it, right? They immediately knew. It didn't matter how old they were. They knew that they were that kid that everybody already knew in the building. And so when I had my own kid, I figured I got this parenting gig on lock. I am going to be the world's best parent. And that didn't happen. Instead, for the first 7 years of raising my oldest son, I just felt like the world's worst parent because everything that I had learned as an educator wasn't working in my home, and everything that I was being told to try, everything that the doctors were saying, that the therapists were saying, it wasn't working. And so by second grade, my son was kicked out of school more days than he was in school. By this point, he had been kicked out of his preschool at 3 years old because he had been the biter. He was in trouble a ton in kindergarten because he was the one pulling his pants down. And then by first grade, he could never sit still in his desk and he was crawling on the floor when he should have been learning. And by second grade, it no longer was age appropriate silliness. And now he was getting suspended a lot. And it just became really evident that the traditional school setting just wasn't for him. And so I ended up quitting my job and bringing him home to homeschool him kind of against my will, because I just didn't think I knew what I was doing when it came to him. And so I had 2 goals. My first goal was just that he would not hate himself for not fitting in, and that he wouldn't hate the world for not understanding him. And I figured if I could figure out those 2 things, it didn't matter what I taught him academically. It didn't matter what else I taught him. As long as he could find compassion for himself and compassion for others, then we had a fighting chance in this world.
Holy cow. I mean, I'm listening to your story and I'm like, yep, check. Oh my gosh. And I know that there's other mothers and teachers out there that have struggled with these things as well. And so, I'm just going to say really quick. So we're going to be talking about your podcast throughout the entire episode here. So first off, everybody, her podcast is called Calm the Chaos. Okay. Calm the Chaos. And she shares in her very first episode there a lot more detail about how she got here, and especially some of those moments that you experienced as a parent where you had, and I'm not going to reveal because I do want them to listen to that first episode, but you had cops called on the kiddos, on your kiddo, and you're coming in and they're like, well, do you want to take your kid now and take him home, or you want the cop to take him? And you're like, illegal. First off. Yeah. but so we won't reveal that episode, but Calm the Chaos. We're all going to be going there. And in fact, before we move on, let's do this really quick. Everybody jump out your phones really quick. Get your phones out unless you're on your phone. You need to write this down if you're on your phone. But that's so tricky if you're on your phone. It's like, can you really exit out the Zoom app and still be here? I'm not positive.
I think you can. If you put the link to them, I think you can.
Okay. Yeah. So shall I give the link to the Calm the Chaos on Apple Podcast or what?
You choose. You could do the Up Viral one, or you could do the.
Perfect. Okay. So let's do this. We're going to do a couple different links, everybody. So first, we're definitely going to do the Up Viral, but in a second, let's first, if you are able to, there's the link for her podcast to go straight to Apple Podcasts, because this is a step that we do not want to mess up, do not want to miss. You're going to go to Calm the Chaos podcast. And here's the coolest thing about this. It's super easy to subscribe to her podcast. So up in the top, let's see right here, up in that top corner, when you're there, you're just going to click that little plus button, the little follow button. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and click that there. It's in that little top follow button right there. I'm going to go ahead and click it one time. And then it's got the little check mark. Okay. So now that we're subscribed to your podcast, let's continue. And,
but it really, sorry, I was trying to do what you were doing. I was like, oh, how fancy. I am so new to podcasts, guys. I'm such a noob when it comes to podcasts.
You're awesome.
I'm supposed to say, subscribe, what I'm supposed to do. All right.
Yeah. And then everybody in the chat, post done when you've subscribed to the podcast.
These are amazing. Oh my
everybody
God.
Knows that we have our own podcast. So they got the podcast down. Okay. So let's continue. So here you were, you brought your kiddo home so that you could homeschool them kind of against your will. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Now walk us through the next time of now you're homeschooling, and how did you get to this point to be helping other parents with challenging kids?
Yeah. So I do talk more about it in that first episode, but I started a blog 10 years ago, almost to the day. I actually quit teaching April 15th, 10 years ago.
Wow.
So this is 10 years in the making. And so I started a blog because when I was looking for information on how to help my son, how to homeschool him, everything looked perfect. And I don't know if any of you guys have ever done that. You do the Pinterest search, you do the Google search, and everything that comes up, it's like, wow, okay, well, and I know there's a lot of home preschoolers here who do teach preschool and have a preschool in their home, and everything looks so perfect. You're like, wait a second, everything looks that good? I don't believe them, right? Yeah. And so I thought I must be doing something terribly wrong if my house and my homeschooling didn't look like that. And so I started the blog with a selfish purpose of really just trying to see if there was one other person out there in the world who was dealing with what I was dealing with, so that I didn't have to feel so lonely. And I didn't find one person. I actually found millions. So in the last 10 years, we've had over 41 million people go to liveandliveadventures.com and read our blog post over there. So it was about anything and everything, because I didn't really know what I was writing about or talking about. And I was really honest with it. So I still am getting used to this whole parenting expert thing. But I did a lot of research. I am a learner by nature, and it is my nature to soak up everything that I can and to share it with others so that I can simplify the process for others. And one of my superpowers is I'm a bridge. I can take really complex information and I can make it really understandable without dumbing it down, if that makes sense. So I can make it really easy to consume, really accessible, and just create these simplified frameworks that make it less overwhelming and less stressful than trying to go through all the parenting books and all of the education information and things like that. I mean, when you first open a book, typically you open them up and it is wall of text, right? How many of you guys have opened up like a parenting book and you're just like, whoa, like any book, and it's just a wall of text and your brain shuts down? Well, mine is full of white space and doodles.
And you drew those doodles, didn't you?
I did. There's over 400 doodles in the book. So the book is full of, things like this that really break it down. So it's really easy to digest, really easy to understand. And so I started sharing just ins and outs of our life. Like I like to say the sweet and sour things of life on the blog, and then slowly started piecing together this framework of what was working for us and started sharing that with others, and started that 5 years ago. And it started with 25 people, then 75. And at this point, we've had thousands and thousands of people go through our Calm the Chaos program. And we've taught it online in a free workshop to over 200,000 families, teachers, therapists, doctors all around the world. And we've just seen it work wonders because it is personalized to the child, and not it's not, and it's personalized to the family or the classroom, whoever it is that's implementing it. It's really is personalized, instead of being, here's this one size fits all solution that's going to work with everyone. And it also meets you where you're at. And instead of saying, here's best case scenario, good luck, it really meets you, as my husband says, at worst case scenario, and then kind of scaffolds it as you go and as you're ready for it.
Well, and I think the majority of parents are going to come to you, or teachers come to you, when it's like, we're at the pit, like we're coming to you in the middle of a battle. Right. Yeah. And so I love that and you don't cherry coat things. It's just like straight to the, like, hey, here's what's going on in this kind of a situation. And here's like the strategy to help you in that moment. That's what I love about you, is it's not just like all these like big ideas of, and you just imagine rainbows and butterflies of everybody just skipping down a hill as their family or their classroom together. And it's like, actually, when this happens, do this, right? To get X result. And it's like, here is the strategy, the tactic, the real quick in the moment. I can just remember that one little framework of that one little doodle. And like, okay, I have that. Here we go. Right. Let's test this out. So I love that so much. So you started, obviously teaching all of these parents about this. Does this also work in the classroom? I know that it works in the home. Okay.
It does. We very specifically focus on families, just because it is my goal to get this framework and this system into every household and every classroom in the world. But we're starting with families, because the families are typically the ones that are going to start with the children. And then I know the importance of teachers as well. But there is a different message. There's a different kind of way of going about it. And so up until this point, teachers, therapists, we've had pediatricians, all sorts of different professionals use the program in whatever situation they're in and adapt it. And it's so much easier for the professional to adapt it than a family who doesn't have the knowledge, the background, the access to information the way that professionals do.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's now that we've got the background in, let's get to some of the juicy details. We talked about, learning the 3 secrets to parenting or teaching challenging kiddos. Now I'm going to pause for 1 second before we get into those. And I remember a conversation we had together where we talked about, I believe it was maybe a possible publisher or somebody who is looking at your book and saying, oh, but these are just kiddos with challenging behaviors, right? And you made the distinction. I remember this. Actually, I changed my graphic because I was like, Joy, wait, she said challenging kiddos. So can you walk us through that? Because like, I understand it, having a challenging kiddo myself, but some people think, oh, it's just the behavior, just challenging behavior. What is the difference between a challenging behavior or a challenging kiddo, perhaps?
Yeah. So a lot of the expertise out there is to remove the the negative from the child, right?
Yes.
Or to remove the diagnosis from the child. And so you're like, no, it's challenging behaviors. It's not a challenging kid.
Right.
But I believe that a challenging kid is a good thing. And here's why. A challenge in every other aspect of your life is a good thing. We challenge ourselves with 30-day food challenges. We challenge ourselves to run a marathon. We challenge ourselves to go live on Facebook for 30 days in a row. We challenge ourselves to do better, to be better, to learn more, to expand our horizons every single day. But when it comes to children, if we call them challenging, somehow that's a bad thing. And I truly believe that these kids that are presenting extremely challenging behavior, they are challenging our belief systems. They are challenging what we have learned. They are challenging how we were raised. They are challenging the status quo. And it is our job as that one person in their life to really say, okay, let me see how I can look at this differently. How can I take a different perspective and not see this as bad, but see the whole child that's in front of me and see this as a way to grow and do better and be better.
Yeah, I love that. And in your podcast too, my friends, like at episode 1 just gets you immediately. So really quick reminder for those who just barely jumped on, go search your Apple or your Google podcast, anywhere you have your podcast app, Calm the Chaos Parenting, this beautiful dark navy and pink colors here, Calm the Chaos Parenting podcast. Go subscribe to it. The way to subscribe is you just go ahead and in that top corner, there's this little plus button and it says follow or maybe subscribe, depending on your app. Go ahead. And of course, this is the Apple ones. Go ahead and just click that little plus button right there at the top. And then of course, it'll have a little check mark saying, yay, you're subscribed now. So that way in the future, every time you click on your library, it's going to be right there in your library. So you can quickly get to it. So, and then put
We
in
have
the
two
comments.
that you can binge already and a brand new one coming
Episodes.
tomorrow.
Yes. Okay. Put in the comments that you did it. We've already got Lisa and Elsa. Oh, and Tiffany already pre-ordered the book. We're going to be talking about the book as well. Victoria and Rosalind subscribed. So good job. Now, in your first episode, you say this comment, and I think I'm not going to repeat it because it's your words, and I'd love to hear it from you. You mentioned that you believe that you are the person that is going to help this kiddo. Do you mind like talking on that for a second? Like you were talking about, I don't really remember your exact words, but it just kind of like hit me that it was like, I'm the person I can help, right?
Yeah. So with my son, when I brought him home, there was, one of the big things that happened is everyone was kind of throwing their hands in the air. We don't know where this came from. We don't know what happened. Now, this was 10 years ago. So, it was before a lot of people understood sensory and trauma and a lot of the different things that now educators know about. But even then, I still have 2 other kids in the school system. He's about to graduate from high school. And I'll tell you, even with 10 years, we still deal with it, right? We still have a lot of that we're dealing with, just not to the extreme with him. And so I made a decision in that moment that I was the one person who was determined to see him for who he was, who was going to dig beneath the surface, who was going to understand him when no one else had the energy or the fortitude to keep going when things got tough. And I truly believe that every child just needs one person. And we hear stories all the time. It doesn't have to be their parent. It doesn't even have to be a teacher. It could be their neighbor. It could be their music teacher. It could be the store clerk that at the store that they always go to, that sees them, that hears them, that makes them feel heard and valued and understood for the child that they are. And if every child just has that one person, I truly believe we can change the world, just one challenging kid at a time. Because, and that was part of it too, is with those 2 goals with my son, is the reason I had those 2 goals and still do is because I believe that if he hated himself, he could turn that hate inward and he could hurt himself. And we see it all the time now, right? Especially after COVID and all of the things that the kids are going through that are older. They're not necessarily in preschool, but then also, we see when kids feel like it is everyone else's fault, right? When we see kids that don't feel like anyone understands them, that anyone doesn't, that no one gets them, where do they place that anger and frustration? They place it on other people, and really big devastation happens, and we're seeing it everywhere. So those are still my two core goals with every child, is how can we get them to love themselves and love others in with compassion.
Yeah. And before we go into your 3 secrets in just a second, I would extend that outward to every one of you. And I would say, how can we get you to love yourself? I mean, we are our biggest critic. And what if we flipped that on ourselves as well as mothers and teachers and said, wow, I really need to love myself too, to model and show what that looks like for my child or my student. Okay, let's dive into it now. So could you share, some of your 3 best tips or 3 best secrets on how to parent or teach these challenging kids?
Yeah, so I'm not a big fan of tips and tricks, because I think that's where we get into overwhelm and stress. I really am bigger on let's create sustainable change. And I don't think sustainable change happens with tips and tricks and hacks.
Love it.
So, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to share some of my like core foundational beliefs and frameworks, if you're okay with that.
Oh, I'd love that. Thank you.
Okay. So my number one is, we've kind of already talked about this, but the number one thing that I think every single parent, teacher, or therapist professional, and I know in the comments, let me know if you are a mom, a grandma. I think most of you are, and also you are an educator. Is that correct?
Yeah. And I think we also have some teachers who are not moms.
Okay.
And so, yeah, teachers or moms, grandmas.
So we've got kind of both. And okay.
Yeah.
So I think that you just said it, right? We're our worst critic. And I think that there's a lot of pressure out there to be 100% and to always get it right and to be consistent and to be that calm force. And I'm going to talk about being the steady force and the calm force for our kids. But I want you to hear this part first, is that you are exactly the parent that your child needs. That is the number one takeaway. You're exactly the teacher that this child needs. You're exactly the parent that your child needs. You are not failing and your child's not broken. Like, that sentiment is what I want you to take away. If you don't remember any other strategy, if you don't remember any other tactic, there's actually science that backs me up here, guys. There is science that proves that you only have to get parenting 70% right. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm better than a C student. So I think I can get it 70% right, 70% of the time.
Yeah.
And so what we have to do with the rest of it is the other 30%, we have to help our kids understand that other 30%, right? We have to be human, vulnerable, show up and say, hey, today was a hard day for me. Right? I yelled and I shouldn't have yelled, or, that made me really angry. Let me share why. It's less about you. It's more about like that it broke my favorite vase, or that, you ruined your socks for the 15th time and it's just frustrating. Right. Mm-hmm. And so making sense of that for our kids can be such a huge needle mover for them, and such a big game changer.
I love that. I want to just say really quick and reflect back to you. Allison Hadley in the comments says that makes me tear up. Just the comment that you are exactly the mother or teacher that this child needs. Love that.
Yeah, I truly believe it. And I think that we get so caught up in, I hear it all the time from the parents that we work with, is I'm failing. I'm not doing this right. I can't get this right. Mm-hmm. And we're putting ourselves to such high standards that are just not possible to hold up against. And so we have to remind ourselves every time anyone in my community messes up, I tell them to kiss their brain and say, thank you, brain. Thanks for reminding me that I'm human.
Yeah.
And that's it. We're human. Mm-hmm. We're going to mess up. We're not meant to be robots and be perfect all the time.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. So that's it. That's my number one secret. It's one of the biggest ones. Number two is, I think that, so the number two, like, kind of idea here is that while every child is unique and you can't possibly have, a strategy or the perfect method for every single child, You also don't have to do it all on your own. I believe that each and every one of you are the expert in your child. And as a teacher, I believe that you have the highest probability of being one of the best experts in each child in your classroom because you spend so much time with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is where you really have to lean into all of your hard-won knowledge, all of your expertise, all of your background knowledge, and what you already know and have experienced and tried. And we can marry that with best practices. And that way, when you're given a best practice or you're given a strategy or you see something new out there, you're able to say, yeah, that's really interesting, but I know this about my kid.
Yeah.
And you're able to really customize it to your kiddo. So we've been able to do that. I actually, is it okay if I share my screen?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay. I'm a doodler, so I'm going to get my doodles out. All right. So I'm going to share what we have figured out as a framework that just ends up being a really good recipe. All right. So you've got the wrong camera. There we go. All right. Can you guys see it?
We can see it. Yep.
Okay. Oh, wow. That's not good.
You've been using all your markers for your 400 doodles.
Yeah, I am not using these. Oh, I could just pull out the doodles. They're sitting right over here. This is messy. So again, 70%, right? Progress, not perfection.
Yep.
All right. So we have found that there are 4 essential elements that just follow best practices in relationships, neurodiversity, trauma, connection, brain, child development, all the different things. And what happens is you end up with one that focuses a lot on connection. A lot of you have probably seen a lot of strategies that focus on connecting with the child, or you might have found some that are really about rules or about systems or about, visual charts, and that's empowerment. Others might have really dug deep. I see this with teachers and educators a lot, is the understanding piece, reading and researching everything there is to know about why kids do what they do, right? And as educators, there's a lot of that. Yes, I'm using a document camera. And then the piece that some of us get into is this you piece. But up until now, they've probably felt like very separated pieces of puzzle. And the way that we have figured this out is that you need a little bit of each when you're dealing with any situation. And so we consider the you piece as the linchpin. You are the center. You're that safe place for your child or for the one child in your classroom that's really struggling. And you are the one that you can really only control yourself. And so this is about you being calm. This is about you being able to anchor and ground yourself when things are difficult. And this is about you being able to stay focused no matter what else is going on. Now, that doesn't mean you can't be scatterbrained. I have an ADHD brain, and I didn't know I was ADHD growing up. So this doesn't mean that you have to be, fully focused all the time. I just want to be clarify that piece. But this is that grounded piece, being a grounded presence for your child. So C is connection. So I'm just going to pull these out here. Again, I'm using my big marker, so it's a little messy. So C is for connection, U is for understand, E is for empowerment. So for connect, this is less about playing with our kids and having one-on-one time, especially when you've got a class of 15 kids, or when I was a preschool teacher, I had 48 kids. Yes, it's illegal, but it happens. And so I had 48 kids in my classroom, and this is less about one-on-one connection, and it's more about being affirming and accepting of the child you have in front of you, not the child you were hoping for. Okay, I'm gonna
let's pause there really quick. Say that again.
So this is about accepting
the
child you have in front of you, not the child you were hoping for or wished for.
Oh my gosh.
I think so much as parents, we are trying to mold our kids into this successful kid. We are trying to mold our kid into a kid that maybe we want, and it's all comes from love. We want them to have what we didn't have. so often, but we get so pulled into, why can't you do this? Why are you doing that? What's wrong with you? And so this connection piece really is about truly seeing them and understanding them. It's less about the understanding, but really helping them feel seen and valued and heard. Yeah. So this is affirming and accepting. And then we have understanding. And a lot of people think that understanding is about behavior management and it's about doing behavior charts and all those things. And that is so not it. It is more about understanding what makes each person tick, because we're not trying to change the person. We're trying to understand what makes them tick so we can create an environment where they can thrive. And that's where the understanding piece is what, and we talk a lot about an iceberg, and I'm sure you've heard something like this before. That does not look like an iceberg. I'm just going to tell you there's shenanigans here sometimes when I'm doing things live. That's supposed to be an iceberg. Okay, so 1/7 of the iceberg's up top and below is the rest of it. And we're looking for what's under here. And so we're really digging under the surface, trying to figure out what's going on under the surface, trying to see the behavior just as a sign that something's going on and that there's an unmet need. And then finally, so that's just understand. So I like to think of this as being in tune with our child's needs. Okay, and then empower. Now, for most of us, we've thought of empower as two different things. We think of it either as growth mindset stuff or teaching our kids self-regulation and self-acceptance and teaching them calm down strategies and things like that. Or we think of it as rules and regulations and boundaries and limits. But what we really need to think of empowerment as is as collaboration and as being a guide or a mentor for our kids and really helping them develop the skills they need to thrive in the world. Now, when they're 3 and 4, they got a long way to go before they're going to thrive in the world. So we don't need them to be completely independent at 3 and 4, right? So, but it's more about teaching them problem solving skills. It's teaching them collaboration skills. It's teaching them how to speak up for their needs and wants where other people can hear them. And so this one doesn't have another fancy term. It's just empowerment. So those are the 4 pieces to the framework. And I like to think of it a lot like baking a cake. That you still need those 4 essential ingredients. You need the milk, you need something like milk. I'm going to really go basic here. We're not talking vegan cakes or, anything like that, but you need milk, you need egg, you need flour, you need butter, right? You need those 4 basics. And if you have those 4, you can make any kind of cake, from a box cake to a British Bake Off, like award-winning cake. But you still need all 4. If you leave one out, you're going to get a mess and you're going to end up unfilled. And so it's not about picking and choosing little bits. It really is about having a sprinkle of each every time you approach a situation.
Wow. And when you're talking about understand, I think in our very busy, fast-paced life, so many of us skip past the understanding part and go straight into reactionary, etc. But wow, when we can bring it back into let's talk, right? Like when we have the space and the ability to talk, that's when, then we're able to like talk about our feelings and what happened and why we acted that way and, apologize and things like that. But it's that understanding point that a lot of us just skip right past. Yeah,
and the good news is some of this is stuff that most of you have heard about. And so what we found, and inside the book, we actually have a quiz that you can take that'll help you assess what your primary parenting style is. And it works the same in the classroom as well. But it really is one of these is your primary parenting style. You will lean more towards connection and affirmations, or you'll lean more towards being that grounded, centered person,
Mm-hmm.
or you'll lean more towards being that in tune person. None of them are better or worse than the other. And it's not about, here's all the things you're doing wrong, which is what most people talk about when they talk about, this strategy or that strategy. It's like, here's all the things not to do, and here's what you should do instead. It's like, here's a framework that you can use, these guidelines you can use, and look at how much you're already doing to build off of. I truly believe all of us have hard-won knowledge and a base that we can build off of.
Yeah. And again, loving yourself and acknowledging, like, we are not expected to be experts at all of these things, but we do have an innate, natural kind of inclination toward one of them. And knowing that, we can be like, oh, okay, hey, I've already got one piece of the puzzle. Let's just build on the others, and they'll strengthen over time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for sharing
So
that one.
2 secrets so far. One is you are exactly the parent that your child needs, or exactly the teacher that this child needs, and that you are not failing and they're not broken. And secret number 2 is that you already are doing a lot. You already have an amazing base and solid foundation to build off of. And now it's about using this framework to move forward, to make decisions, and to customize a plan for your family.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah. Yay.
Thank you so much for sharing those. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
Would you like the third secret?
Yes.
Okay.
I love the third.
I didn't know if you had any questions. Okay. I promise I'm just drinking water. I just get goofy after 7. Okay. So let me share my screen again, and we'll go into the third one. Okay. So all this fantastic information. I love all the comments I'm seeing. You guys are like, this is awesome information. But information is just that if you don't have a bridge to doing, right? And so it can be great to have all these great, this great knowledge, but if you can't actually put it into action, that's where we start feeling like failures again, and you're not the failure. What you need is a roadmap, right? So you cannot do all these things as if you're at the end of the road when you're in survival mode. So when you're dealing with, I saw someone saying the cops being called on, we had that, my son was in a residential treatment for a while at age 11. We dealt with, like I said, he was getting kicked out of schools multiple times. He had incredibly aggressive behavior. We had DCFS called on us multiple times. We've dealt with, when you're in that stage, and we call that riding the storm. And this stage is the survive the storm stage. This is stage 1. When you're at survive the storm stage, you cannot focus on a family that works together and thrives. And you cannot work on having all these beautiful routines in place. But one of the first things that people will teach you is to set up routines and rules and limits. But if you're over here, I guarantee no one in your family feels safe. And you've got kids in your classroom. If this isn't in your home, there are kids in your classroom who this is what they're dealing with at home. And so if they don't feel safe, if that's shaken, then there's no way that you putting together, class meetings and class circles and, charts with visuals, that doesn't matter. Right? It's all about getting everyone to safety here, right? It's all about making sure everyone feels emotionally, physically, cognitively safe, right? So the second stage, and they all use the UQ at every stage, they all use the UQ, but you're going to only use a trickle of it here. And the second stage, most people think it's, okay, well, this is about getting the kid to calm down then, if this is about safe. We used to do that, but we found out that if you've been dealing with storms for a long time, this is the one that gets missed all the time, is that your battery is most likely run dry. And I know it's cliche to say that you can't pour from an empty cup. So I'm just going to give you a different analogy. When's the last time you plugged this sucker in?
Right.
How many of you guys will plug this in when you go to bed tonight? You'll plug in your phone and you'll wake up in the morning with a fully charged battery on your phone, but yet you yourself, your battery's drained.
Yeah.
We give our phones more energy than we give ourselves. And so this stage is all about finding teeny tiny habits that you can do in 5 minutes a day that rebuild your own energy. It's about grounding, having these rituals and habits that help you ground every single day, that help you connect with one human, that help you understand your own, like we call them boost and drains, the things that energize you and the things that drain you, and then empowering yourself with a daily habit to move more or take care of your body more each day than you did the day before. So if you skip this stage, you won't have enough energy to deal with the other stages coming your way. Okay.
That is so good. I also just want to reflect really quick from the
Okay.
chat 1 second. Nelva says, I have a little kiddo who other teachers told me he just cries all the time, no reason. So she has a vacation spot in my classroom, which makes him feel safe. And then Lakeisha says, yeah, you're telling the truth. The kids in my class did not feel safe. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I'm so glad this is landing and it's helping you guys. So the third stage, once you've gotten, and I didn't give you the UQ for that, so I'll go back really fast. So this stage is all about you because you're the only one that can really control anything. I live in Tornado Alley. I actually live in Little Rock where all the tornadoes came through just a couple of weeks ago and just like devastated our city. And when those tornadoes happened, everyone went to the basement. You know what to do, or you went under the stairs, or you went in the bathroom. Like you rode out that storm. You were not trying to get ahead of it. You were not trying to fix the solution. You were not trying to outrun it. You were just trying to get everyone to safety. Like that's what this one's all about. So the U piece is, and this is one of my favorite tools that we use. It's called Stop, Breathe, Anchor. And so this one is all about grounding yourselves, and it's about not moving, not talking, not fixing, not doing anything. So you stop, you take a deep breath, and you can hold your hand to your heart right here. And then you just anchor yourself with something that you believe. This is less than a memory. This is more, it can be a memory, but it's something that reminds you, I am safe. It's okay. This is only a moment. I can get through this. All behaviors, communication, whatever it is that's going to get you through that moment, that's what you're doing here. And then the connection piece is really funny, guys, because the connection piece, you're not going to go and do like play tiddlywinks with your kid when everyone's not safe. But what you can do is you can check your body for the signals you're sending out without even using any words. So if your eyebrows are furrowed, if you're like right now, just check your jaws. How many of you are clenching your jaw right now?
Yep.
Yeah, most of you, right? Because we just naturally do it, but our kids see that and they think they've done something wrong. So we can send out signals of safety by softening our body. And then the understand piece is you can't really do a whole bunch of 20 questions in the moment. And so what you can do is just know all behaviors, communication, this isn't about me. So I'm going to remove any emotion right now because this is not the time to deal with it. And you're just empowering yourself out of the moment, not even in the moment, by focusing on all the tiny progress you're making out of the storms. You're just focusing on, wow, well, at least part of our house is still standing, or all those little things like that, right? Okay, so, Delisa lives in Little Rock as well. Yeah, it's been rough for our little town, hasn't it? Oh my goodness. So ride the storm. This is our energy reserves. Stage 3 is in the moment. So this is diffusing the bomb and knowing exactly what this is, being the calm in the storm. So this is you knowing what to say and do in the heat of the moment, even if your kid is flying off the handle. So the U piece is swapping your thoughts, and we have an exercise for that. The connection is getting closer and lower, but obviously if you've got a kid that's going to kick you in the face, you're not getting too close, right? So we're not generalizing. You're you're just moving into the same room. You're, lowering your body. Understand we actually have a whole tool for this, so I'm not going to go into it, but we've got a systematic way of kind of doing a quick checklist in the heat of the moment of why the behavior might be happening. And then the empowerment part is you're empowering yourself with what to say and do and provide in the moment. We call it a 1-1-1. And that way you're not trying to remember 50,000 tips and tricks. This is where those tips and hacks and tricks come in, is you're trying one at a time and you're being a scientist and you're going, well, that didn't work. Let me change out what I say next time. Let me change out what I do next time. Let me change out what I provide next time and see what changes and how it gets better.
I love that. I want to just reflect really quick say back to you. You said all behavior is communication. And you went so quick through that. I just wanted to reiterate, because that is such, like, we won't dive into that right now, but I just want everybody to kind of ponder that as you go through your next day in your home, in your classroom. All behavior is communication. Just keep that on a loop. And every time you start seeing any kind of behaviors, what is that child trying to communicate to you? So love that.
And there's one caveat to that, which I just learned recently. I'm always trying to learn from different communities. And I just learned from non-speaking community that if a child is non-speaking or has tics, that sometimes the behavior, they're not communicating something on purpose because they're not in control of that behavior. However, it still is communicating that there's a misfire.
Right. Yep.
There's still something going on.
Yep.
Right. And so it's communicating, hey, something's misfiring. Hey, something is, I'm not happy right now, or I'm overexcited or something like that. So just wanted to make sure that, I want to make sure that I'm respectful of all the communities, but we're trying to share that with me. All right. And tell me if I feel like I'm just like going to town over here. So,
oh yeah, you're doing great. Are we on to number 4 now?
Yep, we're on to stage 4. So stage 4 is no more storm chasing, which I like to call no more parenting whack-a-mole, which is really just like, you're no longer having to go from fire to fire to fire, right? You're really trying to get ahead of the situation. And how many of us actually start here? Right? We start by trying to get ahead of it. We start by trying to come up with strategies and solutions. And we have skipped 1, 2, and 3 and then wonder why it doesn't work. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this one is, the U piece here is really getting honed in and focused on your number one chaos causer. The connection is building connection out of the moment. We call it magic reset button. You're building positive interactions with a 5-to-1 ratio. It's built off of the Gottman information. I don't know how much you guys know about the Gottman research, but it's that for every 1 negative interaction, you need 5 positive interactions to kind of combat that one negative. Now, that doesn't mean if you yell at your kid, then you've got to say thank you 5 times, right? Like that's not what it is. And it's really small things too. And it's even in conflict. So it is that lowering of your shoulders. It is you saying, I hear you, things like that add to the 5-to-1. The understanding piece, we get a little more technical here and we do something we call a behavior spiral to really zoom out and start to look for triggers. We start to look for tipping points. We start to kind of spiral out that behavior way more holistically than anyone who is a behavior, who's been trained like with behavior analysts or analyzation techniques. It's way more zoomed out than just the zoomed in ABCs, if you've heard of the ABCs, which is like antecedent, behavior, and consequence. So and then the empower piece, this is where you're finally getting to talk to your kids and you're creating we call it a huddle. And we have multiple types of huddles where you are actually collaborating and problem solving with a kid to create an ahead of the moment plan. So when it's time to leave the block area, this is what we're going to do. And it's not you saying when it's time to leave the block area, this is what we're doing. It's coming up together and saying, here's our concerns. And 3-year-olds can do this. I guarantee you, I've seen it happen, right? A lot through play, but they can still problem solve a lot of these things with you. So that's how you're getting ahead of it. And then you get to like the mecca, woohoo, which is family team. So stage 5 is all about Getting everyone on board. A lot of times up to stage 4, you're really focusing on you, the one challenging kiddo, and anyone that's involved in a situation. Then you're starting to expand it out to the whole family ecosystem or the whole classroom ecosystem. So you're really looking at the whole picture and you're saying, okay, what is each person's struggles and superpowers? And struggles, the opposite side of a struggle is not that we're getting rid of the things that they're hard at or that they're bad at or that, they're not good at. You have to, you get one, you get the other side. It's two sides of the same coin. So if you think of the Hulk, right? Like you can't get rid of the Hulk without also getting rid of Bruce Banner. You get both of them.
Yeah.
And so it's all about embracing both sides and just helping understand where it comes from and helping them hone those both sides of that. So if you've got, so for me, super creative, super quick start, right? But guess what that also means? I'm super distracted. I squirrel brain a ton. I never finish projects, right? Not never, obviously I finish it.
You've got a book next to you, Dayna.
I struggle to finish projects, right? So, but you get both of those with me. You're not, right? Like you're not going to get like, you're not going to get rid of these things that I struggle with and then still only end up with the polished pieces, right? Yeah. It's about both sides. The connection piece here is about creating this, this very collaborative team approach where we actually, our parents will create family team names. We have one that's like the Vortexes. We have some that are like, Team Newcastle, because they like mix all their names together. And so they actually call themselves a team. They make team flags. Is something I used to do in my classroom when I taught preschool. And we just become a community, like a team that's working together all on the same page. And we create values that we all want to live by. And this is the type of family we want. This is what we believe in. This is what we love and cherish. Yeah. A lot of times that comes from the parents or from the teachers of like, these are the values we're going to live by, instead of what kind of family do you want to live in? Yeah. The understanding piece, we do something called a unique profile here, where we're actually getting really clear on each person in the family or each person in the classroom's unique preferences, their calming strategies, their sensory preferences, their likes, their dislikes, their primary stress response. You're looking at all different aspects so that you can figure out why one person is oil and the other person's water. And you can start figuring out how to get them to work together. And then the empowerment piece is where you're finally going to bring in some of that structure. Some of you guys just crave so much. So you're going to bring in some of that structure. However, this is where I lose a lot of people. It's not with rules and it's not with firm limits. It's actually with something we call agreements, and everything we call them value-based family systems. So you're creating systems that are based on the family values and agreements that everyone can agree on. And you're creating plans and you're creating personal boundaries, not, hey, I said it's time to get off electronics. That's my boundary. Right? That's not really what we're talking about here. What we're saying is, I can't let you hurt me, so I'm going to step over here. Sure. Right? It's a personal boundary. And so, yeah, that's it. So you need to know that you are not broken and you're not a failure. You need to know that you already have an amazing base, and it's not about starting from scratch or doing it all on your own. You can follow a framework with just 4 simple pieces: you, connect, understand, empower. And it's not sink or swim, right? You can follow a roadmap to go from surviving to thriving, and use that framework to match your family exactly where you're at.
Oh man, that is so good. Michelle is asking, is all this information in the book?
I lay it all out. The whole thing, guys. It's a hunky book, but the whole thing is step by step in there. So when I talk about, let's see, I'll show you. So here's just an example. Here's the thought swaps. When I talked about the you piece and being able to swap your thoughts from one side to the other and being able to create more empowering thoughts, there's examples. Every single section has an action step, one simple step you can take today. And every single section has a story from a real family and how they dealt with it, from toddler to teen and everything in between.
Yeah. And I think too, like seeing it in someone else's, story, like that's really where we can say, okay, because I thought I was alone. I mean, I can't tell you how many nights, right? I'm just like, there's nobody else dealing with this, because you can't find anybody else, in your community that is dealing with this, and nobody's giving you help. And it's like, now we can plug into you and be connected to not only the resources, but the families and the other teachers that are also struggling with these things and have found the light at the end of the tunnel. They have walked the walk and are enjoying the.
Can I show you my favorite thing ever?
Yeah.
Okay, so can you guys see those?
Yes.
That's my family wall. So that's our family team wall. And this is where we've got some holes because they jump off the wall. I don't know why they like to do that, but they jump off the wall. But we have families just like this, and I stick them up there when they I could probably fill this whole building with them, but this is just like my happy place. Is there are so many families out there who have seen this work for them. For a long time, I didn't believe it. I thought it was a fluke that it worked for me, tried it out on another person. And we've iterated it over the last 5 years. And this book is the latest iteration. It is the simplified version. Every stage has 4 steps. You connect, understand, empower, so that you can remember those steps. And it's easy. You can go back to it. Every single section of the book is less than a 5-minute read. So you can pick it up if you're busy, if you need to come back to it. And it works. I mean, it works. I don't know what else to say. And the reason it works is because it's about plugging your knowledge and your information and your expertise into what is already been tested and tried by thousands and thousands of families around the world. So even if you're that unique family that doesn't fit a mold, it fits you. You get to make it work for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the reason why I brought Dayna on was, my son's 10 now. And how I wished I had known about you, 6.5 years earlier when we were starting to have our struggles in our family. And this message needs to be shared. And we are so excited that you put together a podcast, that you wrote a book, that you are going to get this book published in August. It is on pre-order right now. So I have a couple steps for everybody who is listening and watching right now. I'm telling you, as a leader, as a mentor of yours, we need to get this message out. So everybody that is listening, and if I have ever helped you ever in my life of these last 15 years helping you, I need your support right now, because my own family went through such a struggle. And I'm telling you, Dayna's podcast, Dayna's book will save families, will save kids, honestly, will save so much heartache that you don't need to go through, and it needs to be shared. So here is my ask for you as you're watching this right now. I've got an amazing 71 beautiful women on with us tonight. And of course, on the replay, we're going to have many, many more. Here's what we need to do. 2 things. Are you ready for me? Number 1, we need to go subscribe to her podcast. So here's the kicker. We have our podcast, right? So we all know about the podcast world, but the thing is in order for Dayna's message to get shared out, she needs to hit the top rankings of that podcast app, on the Apple podcast. She needs to be able to get up as high as she possibly can. The higher she gets, the more families see it, the more families subscribe, the more families she can support and help. So we're going to go to any podcast app that you have, whether that's Google or that's Apple. You're going to go to Calm the Chaos Parenting, this beautiful navy and pink graphic there, Calm the Chaos Parenting. And then there's a top little plus button in the top right there. It says follow or subscribe. Go ahead and click on that. And it's going to give you a nice little check mark. You're subscribed, you're followed. And that's one of the things. Okay, great. So we've subscribed. Everybody post in the comments, subscribed or done when you've done that. The next thing we're going to be doing, okay, if you got value out of this episode with Dayna right now, guess what? There are 2 more episodes in here. Do you think there's going to be just as much value and even more in the episodes? Yes. So if you got value out of this episode, I want you to scroll down here, and we are going to rate her podcast, because guess what, friends? What she just produced here is even 10 times better on the podcast because it's so, condensed and so beautiful there too as well. So if you got value on this episode, go ahead and give her 5 stars. The way to do that is you just click the furthest star, which equals 5 stars right there. And it's going to light up 5 stars. Okay. So we need to give her, if this has served you, right? If you think she's earned, if let's see, she's earned your 5 stars, give her a 5-star rating on that podcast. Cause you're going to, and then right below that, after you rate, it'll pop up a little thing where you can write a review. Okay. So we can scroll down just a little bit after we give the 5 stars, we can click write a review. And that's where it's going to pop up and you can write some words. Now I already wrote some words, but you can go ahead and write some words there too. Okay, so we'll just give you a second to do that. And then I've got one final step for everybody. And then she's got 2 episodes on there tonight. So we can go binge listen right now after this. I love listening to podcasts in the car, when I'm cleaning, when I'm cooking, right? Dayna, when do you like?
Yeah,
to
well,
listen to
we were
podcasts?
listening. It's so funny. My husband was like, if people knew what we were listening to right now, we were on a walk today and we were listening to the episode that's dropping in the morning. And we were listening to the whole episode. And he was like, if people knew that this couple walking down the street was listening to the couple on our podcast, they might think we're kind of weird.
I listen to my episodes all the time.
Yeah. So the podcast is, it is very conversational. We've been told that it sounds like just having your best friends like sit at the table with you while you cook or while you fold your laundry. It's full of shenanigans. And so just to keep you awake when you're listening. So I love it. I see people already saying that they've listened to it. That's awesome.
Nice. Yeah. So you want to go binge listen to that because not only, these are the things that are going to help get her ranked high so she can see, so more families can see her. Honestly, that's always the game. We need more families to see her. So you subscribing, you rating, you reviewing, and then you listening to the podcast. That is everything that will help Dayna's podcast get to the top. Now, friends, and she's got another episode dropping tomorrow morning. So you can just as soon as you wake up, oh, it's another episode. I always love that. Like every time I know when there's a new episode, I'm like, yay, it's another episode day. Okay. The last thing I want to do, now that you guys have done that, I'm going to drop a link in the chat. Now this link is for her contest. Okay. And we're going to share the screen in just a second because I need everybody here to go click on this link to go join her contest. I'm going to share my screen here and share you what the contest, I keep saying it wrong, contest is that you guys are going to see.
Yeah.
So what we see here is this is what it's going to look like when you get there. And on this page, you're going to enter your name and your email to be entered into over $20,000 in prizes. Okay. You're going to enter your name and email, but here's the kicker, friends. You don't actually get entered in until you click your email that says, hey, I'm entered into this, right? So if you never found an email from her that says, confirm that this is your email. If you never confirmed, you guys got to go confirm. Okay. So you're going to put in your name and email, and then it's going to put you on the next page, but don't forget to go back to your email and click, yes, I want this to be confirmed here.
And so just by signing up for this part, you get the first chapter of the book.
Nice. So you get the first chapter of the book. You can immediately go start reading and really getting into more of the deep of the frameworks and things like that. And you guys can win the VIP day, a $17,000 value, a one-on-one day with Dayna. You can win the family time session, a $200 Lego gift card, Calm the Chaos program, pizza night, an hour coaching with Dayna. You can win the book club, $1,000 plus value, copy of Calm the Chaos book, and the Empowered Parent bundle. So really cool prizes there. And of course, this is still going on for 3 or 4 more days, right?
Yeah, I think it's going on until Sunday night.
Yes. And then when you get there, here's the cool thing. When you get there, it's going to show you on the next page how to, and this is really important, guys, it's going to share how you can get points for these things, okay? Because you need to get points to win, right? So you can click this little button here and it's just a copy paste link. And then once you copy paste it, you can go over to Facebook and you can, sorry, let me close out all these tabs, all the chats. Come on, guys. So you can just paste your link just like that and press enter. And then it just shares the graphic. It's like, it's the easiest way that I could ever think of, the Dayna obviously could ever think of, to put together a contest. So bravo, first off, for the contest easiness. You can follow her podcast right there. Okay, there's a link.
Yeah, you've all done that. So they could click that right now.
Sweet.
So they can
Yep.
click
So you
that
can
one.
click that. And there's
And
tons of points here. Like you can't see my points because it's actually
you already did it.
Yeah. But anyways, and then there's also subscribe to the YouTube channel, which I subscribed. You can also follow her on Instagram to keep like up to date on tabs. And here is the kicker. This is where you definitely want to go. Pre-order the book. How many points do they get for pre-ordering the book?
150.
What?
Yes.
Guys, come on now. 150 points.
150.
I didn't
way up on the leaderboard when you ordered the book.
I didn't even give people 150 points, Dayna, when I did my last contest. So come on now.
Yeah, it's a lot of points for pre-ordering the book. And here's the thing is that when you do that, you're going to go to this page. This page is important. You can pre-order from anywhere that you do books, but you want to come back to this page because you'll get our 7 Days to Less Chaos. You'll also get, I did a behind the scenes of the making of the book. It's been 4 years in the making from agent until publishing. And so I share the whole nitty gritty, and you get a recording of that. Plus, we are going to be doing, I've been seeing some people, and I don't know if you guys are just doing shenanigans or you mean it, but we are going to be doing bulk order bonuses in the future. Those are still coming down the line. And so for those of you that are like, I need to order one for me and I need 10 for my families, or I need 10 for the therapist or whatever, do it. Go ahead. You can grab that now, because we are going to be having some great bonuses for that, including a whole live event where we are going to be going live and for a whole day event, and you get your ticket to that for free when you do some bulk orders. So there's definitely options for that. And be sure to fill out the form because we want to give you the bonuses.
Yeah. So you can go pre-order the book, on Amazon or Barnes and Noble or anywhere you get your book. And by the way,
it doesn't matter. The more places you buy it from, the better. It really doesn't matter. I like seeing the Amazon number go, like that one's fun. That one's just my own personal, because they're the only ones that report before the book comes out. So I can see the Amazon book orders. But it really does help if you guys, I saw someone saying they ordered from Target. Someone said they ordered from Barnes and Noble. That helps. You can order from your local bookstore. There's a link on that order the book page called Bookshop. I love that one because you can type in a zip code and it will tell you an independent bookstore, and you can even filter it by Latino stores, by Black owned businesses. You can, it's so phenomenal. You can make sure that you're really supporting the businesses that you're interested in.
Oh, I love that. And so everyone, I just, again, put the link in the chat. You're going to need to go to that link and then definitely put in your name and email. Like I said, though, you're not technically in the prize drawing yet until you go to your email inbox and click the yes, I confirm this email. Okay. Because guess what, guys, when I had my contest the last week, I got some generic spam email coming through because I never did the confirmation. So high five to Dayna who did the confirmation. So you guys need to confirm your email. Otherwise you're not in.
Click confirm. Don't reply back. We definitely got an email that was like, I confirm. They're like, no, this is not how you confirm.
I know. But click the link that says confirm. Awesome. Well, Dayna, again, thank you so much. And before I sign off here, again, everybody go follow her podcast, go subscribe, rate, review, and listen. Go binge watch it. Calm the Chaos Parenting podcast. And of course, her book, Calm the Chaos, is coming out in August. We're going to do a huge push for that. Whenever August comes around, we may even do a book club. So stay tuned for that. But I'm going to send it back to you. Is there any last things you'd like to share, Dayna, before we go?
Well, first of all, just thank you again, Joy, for having me. This is one of my first chats that I've had, first of many chats about the book coming out and the podcast coming out. So thank you so much for your support and sharing your amazing community with me.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. And also for anyone who's listening, I know I went through this, just fire hosed you. And really what I want you to take away is that piece from the very beginning is that you are exactly the parent that your child needs. You're exactly the teacher that that most difficult child in your classroom needs. And you're here. You're an hour and 10 minutes in. That shows me that you have compassion, you have care, you have understanding, and that you are doing everything you possibly can. And so lean into that. Remind yourself you don't have to get it 100% right. Just kiss your brain. Thanks, brain, for reminding me I'm human. And just know that you are not alone.
That's awesome. Well, Dayna, we're going to do this again whenever your book gets ready to
Okay.
launch. So get ready to come back to us. And
Okay, I will. This was so fun. I could do this every day.
awesome, friend. Okay, we will talk to you soon, everyone. Thank you.